Commissioner.
Hello, I'm back. Just want to remind Dale that Felps is still overcharging their home solar customers. With September coming up and budgets being planned, I figured engineering firms were being considered to perform next year's cost of service study. Please tell whoever you hire that Felps is real-time metering, not net metering. Mr. Lowe told my husband and I that we would be allowed to meet with the firm during the study. We would really like to take him up on this offer, and we ask that he please call us when the time comes.
Thank you. All right, recognition of employee Allison Dobbins, Rudy Paz, Terry Zients, and Bruce Gom.
All right, Allison.
She's on her way.
Oh, all right, I'll jump to Terry. Terry's an operator with the pole crew. Basically, he's just an operator, and he also does a lot of just hops off the operator and does a lot of just the work and everything else that's on building the system and everything else. He has just hit the 20-year milestone of employment with Felps. So, Terry, appreciate what you do in that aspect. Rudy Paz, senior warehouse technician. He's been here at Felps. Can you see? I didn't been here for 23 years or so. So also appreciate what he does. He's one of works with Raymond and that crew out in the warehouse area. You see him up here all over, working on the buildings and doing different aspects also there. So really appreciate what you do. Then Allison Dobbins, GIS technician. She began with Felps as an intern back in June of 17. And then in April, she became a full-time GIS employee and working full-time now here at Felps. And she there she is. She works with Jonathan James, who just came back probably a month before or 2 months before you came on full-time back in the GIS department here with Felps. So appreciate what all of you do on that aspect. The other one, some of you met at first when you walked in, but this is Bruce Gom. He is the executive manager that we hired for the engineering operation division of the utility. So he's been in the utility industry basically, I guess, your whole life, or pretty good 20 plus years and stuff. So he came from Amarillo area. So he is down here, been here for 3 weeks, going on 4?
3.5.
3.5 weeks and everything.
And you're still here?
Still here.
So he is getting his...
We told that this is like being in the Garden of Eden. Amarillo.
So he's getting his hands wrapped around some things that he needs to look at and to, you know, that he wants to address and everything else. He has a list of hoping to help with the reliability and stuff that we do here. So he has some things that he knows he wants to start looking at and moving forward on and helping this utility, you know, continue to move in the right direction there. So appreciate you coming on board and appreciate all of the people here and the employees for what you do. So thank you.
And it's Bruce
Gom, G-O-M.
G-O-M-M.
His house, I think?
His
Pardon
name
me?
is on
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I say obviously, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice and cold back home then, too.
Oh.
70s. Been raining.
Yeah, it's a lot cooler over there.
So he's originally, what, Wisconsin?
Wisconsin is real
Wisconsin.
Talk about cold. Yeah.
Freeze to death. Yeah, I wouldn't make it.
So he's paying us to work for us after living in Wisconsin and Amarillo?
Yeah.
I mean,
I got quite a history. Like I said, I grew up in Wisconsin. I grew up about 30 miles away from the Packer Stadium, so they always say it's in the water up there. You can't really avoid it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much Packer fan.
So you're a Floresville resident now? Sorry.
Pardon me?
Floresville resident?
I'm working on it.
Oh, working on it.
Working on it.
Okay. Anything on that?
That's it. Next one.
All right. Review and action on the minutes of the meeting held July 31st, 2019.
I make the motion that we accept them as written.
Mr. Aiken makes a motion, do I hear a second?
I second that.
Ms. Castillo seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review the financial statements for July 2019.
Good morning. Our customer growth is where it's kind of been at, between 1.25% and 1.5%. So right now we're at, ending July at 16,088 customers. Our purchase and sales are still lower than they were at this time last year, mostly due to the weather. Our purchases are at 38.9 million, which is 3% lower. And our sales are 5% lower, with the current month being 32.3 million. That reflects in our revenue build. So our revenue build is also lower. It's at 3.4 million, which is a decrease of 12%. Our other income is right at 1.1 million, that's about 15% lower. Pretty much all of our other income is tracking lower except for our interest income. That is still higher. So total net revenue is 8.5 million, which is a 17% decrease. We're still doing well with operating construction budget. We're 16% under with the operating and about 31% under with the construction. We're still planning to do the SS30 project, which will get that construction budget more in line. So net income for the month, we lost $9,550. So this is our first loss of the year. But as the weather spiked up, we paid CPS that we're going to start collecting. So it's not anything to be worried about. It's pretty typical and a very low number.
So is that typical for this time of year?
Mm-hmm. Usually we see it earlier because weather is hotter, but because we had those cooler summer months, we're just now seeing the hot weather. And that's where you're seeing the swing later in the year, whereas usually it's in the earlier in the year. So there will come a month when the weather cools off. We'll pay CPS less, but we're still billing for the month behind, so there will be a greater increase. Most of this was mitigated when we went to 4 cycles, but there's still a little bit of a difference.
Any questions for Mark? All right, thank you. Review and action on the bad debt charge-off for the month of July 2019.
Okay, it's behind tab 6, so bad debts for the month are a little higher than what they were previous months, so we're looking at $2,475. So if you look at them, there weren't anyone that hit that threshold that we always talk about of being over $500 on that. We had a couple of kind of coming close to that, but those are the bad debts for the month. So let me go back up here to this page. So if you look at it, excuse me, that's the number of the actual loss for the month. We recovered also with collections over $2,000. So if you look at the net loss for the month, if you talk about what we've collected from the previous stuff, it has been, you know, on the bad debt, our pure bad debt there would be 414. So that's what we're looking at. So year to date, a little over 5,000 on bad debt total for the year.
That's very good.
I noticed the one that's $441 is Fall City. Was that a resident or is that a?
Let me pull over Marcy.
That's a that is a residential account.
Huh?
It's a residential account.
Okay.
It looks like they got disconnected for non-pay,
Can I guess?
so they would have had 2.5 months of bills.
You can go collect one.
I might go do that. She's not in town anymore.
Do we have a motion for approve the bad debt charge-offs for the month of July 2019?
I make a motion that we accept the bad debt charge-off for the month of July.
Mr. Aiken makes a motion, I hear a second.
I'll second.
The mayor seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review and action on citizens' comments.
So Marcy, you know what this you'll make?
I'll do it. So,
Whichever.
in the front of your packet for several months, we've put this little sheet in the sleeve. The legislation is changing effective September 1st. Before, the board had a lot of discretion on citizens' comments. There's a lot less discretion. And it's going to citizens' comments before every agenda item. So if you look back in April of last year, y'all passed the motion to have a 5-minute time limit on each citizen's comments. Under that, citizens could talk 5 minutes under each item. And it doesn't have to be relevant to the item. It can be anything. So in order to maybe curb some of the things, you know, and keep the meeting flowing, we're proposing a 2-minute time limit. It would still be before the meeting, before every agenda item, but at least, you know, at this meeting, it could have been 80 minutes per person, if they so chose. So this will kind of shrink it down, but still give them the opportunity to speak if they have a concern.
And as a board, during that meeting, we would have a right, if there's only 2 or 3 people, if we want to let them talk 5 or 10 minutes, we have a right to do so.
Yes.
The chair does under the
Okay.
Yes.
policy.
But if it's a meeting where we
that.
see somebody actually trying to filibuster, then we have more control with the 2 minute.
2-minute limit, yes.
Okay.
The 2-minute limit, there's nothing in legislation that says how long that has to be, and the board policy doesn't. Y'all just voted, well, in 18, 17, y'all voted in a meeting to put a limit of 5 minutes there, but the policy itself that was voted on previously had no time limits listed, period, on it. Y'all came back later and just voted to put a limit of 5 minutes at that time, but the policy itself is vague and it just says they can speak.
It just says may adopt reasonable rules, so.
So if we have 15 items on the agenda, a person could talk 2 minutes at the beginning or at the end of each item,
Before
and it
each
doesn't necessarily have to pertain to that item.
That is correct.
Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, to me, I'm fine with 2 minutes because that would help the board if there is just a filibuster out there to control it a little bit. But if, you know, it's legitimate citizens' comments where they're not repeating themselves and they have something to say to that agenda, then we can let them speak. You know, as long as that's, but it allow the board to control the meeting a little bit better if the privilege is being abused by a citizen or a group of citizens.
Not the board, but you, the chair.
The chair, well, the chair would have a,
It doesn't take a vote.
correct, but
Okay.
the whoever the chair at that time will have more control to control the meeting and keep the meeting moving at that time.
Is there something written that,
We need an action on that?
Yes.
yeah, but I mean, is there something written that we need to,
No, y'all, here you would just make a motion to move that to a 2-minute, no,
2-minute time
Change,
limit?
yeah, change
Just
the citizens' comments from
comment
5 minutes
okay,
to
to
2
2
minutes.
minutes.
I make that motion, that we change it from 5 to 2 minutes.
Mr. Aiken makes a motion, do I hear a second?
I second that.
Ms. Castillo seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review and action on health insurance.
Okay, so this one is going to be Marcy and I kind of working through this. We've received this late yesterday. What was it, about 4:30, 4:45? Finally just came in, and it has to be put on this agenda because it goes, we have to have enrollment this next month, and then it goes into effect, you know, starting at 1st of October. So it's a thing that we'll walk through here. So to begin with, while she's setting this up, this has been something that's been looked at for months. So Jody, Myra, and Marcy have been working on this, and then, you know, I was working on it also, but they get the credit for most of the stuff that is going on here. So we looked at this, and it first came back as a 36% increase in the premium rate. So it was, those 3 ladies went to work, and we found someone that was willing to start doing some really hardball playing with these insurance people, and they have got it down lower than the 36%, but it is still very high. But then we lowered it again by proposing that we bring some other ancillary products over to this company, and you're gonna see the difference of the cost of doing that. So we've got it lowered down to probably a 25% increase, 26 range.
That's what the health insurance came down as 20 to 26% increase,
So-
from 36% increase.
So, I mean, that is basically the best that is out there, because most of the people would not even consider touching us. Blue Cross agreed to, since they've been holding us and doing this. There was a couple of other options that were presented to us, but with a week's notice, it was decided that, Marcy and I really talked about it quite a bit, that I didn't feel comfortable making that big of a change in the medical insurance with only a week notice, because it's something completely, it's not a natural type of plan that's on the market today. And it's something that we would need to do a lot more research before we even put that out and said to the employees, here's the new insurance, when we don't even understand it that well. So we didn't even really 100% consider that. But this company that we're talking with right here used that as a bargaining chip to Blue Cross to get them to lower their thing, saying, hey, here's what they could be paying. So that's when they agreed to lower that, because they had a bargaining chip and saying, here's what some other prices are quoted on that. So we'll go through this presentation a little bit and share some stuff with you, but like I said, this is some stuff that we were just handed late yesterday, so we're gonna kind of bounce each other here a little bit on some stuff, and Marcy put a little sheet together that had some cost on it.
Yeah, I didn't give it to everybody.
No, I'm sorry, it's you and I, you worked on it,
yeah?
give it to me, so yeah.
It's just numbers.
It's just
Nobody cares
numbers.
about-
But this is the presentation of what they emailed us late yesterday afternoon.
So we're going to medical first,
So y'all
which
can't
is
see
really
that.
small. But it's the exact same coverage. What they're showing here is the blue is the current plan on the left, the blue right next to it. Let's see, one of them is the health savings account, the other one's the regular plan, and then the orange is an alternative that we're not considering. We're going with the exact same coverage today for next year. So it's just a matter of price. Benefits will not change in any way. But they wanted to show the alternatives if we're interested, but if you could, I don't know if you can see, but the red is the things that change, and it changes in the other direction for the employee. Deducts go up, things of that nature. What you're probably more interested in is what's in this blue box down here.
The city is looking at a 9% increase on our insurance. Is there a reason why Felps is so much higher?
It's based off of claims.
What is the employee pay? Is that how they?
So
But
here.
what do we pay for one?
Yeah, so here at Felps, the company picks up the employee portion they have in the past of the medical insurance, and then the employee itself is responsible for all of their dependents in that aspect. Spouse, yes.
But what is the cost, I should say?
So you're looking at, that's the blue, correct?
Yes.
Where it is?
We
So,
have 2 plans.
yeah. So you're gonna go and,
Yeah. So the column on the far left, it says current under base plan. It's $378.85 for what they call the health savings account. The board voted last year to add $200 to that. So on their HSA card, employees that are under that plan get $200 on the card, and then the company pays $378 to Blue Cross for the plan. So that plan is costing Felps $578.85 a month.
That's a one-time $200 a year,
No, that's every month.
every month.
every month.
To make it even compared to what the other plan is.
So if you're not under, the health savings account has a high deductible at $6,000, and the plan doesn't pay anything until you meet the $6,000. So for people with a lot of claims or no claims, that's very good for them, because either they're gonna hit the $6,000 right away and then they don't have to pay a penny, or they're never gonna reach that, they don't have regular medication, doctor's visits, things like that.
And that would be a savings for them.
And that's a savings for them, right, because they get that $200 on the health savings account, which they can use for over-the-counter medications, anything in the realm that they prescribe, they can use it for. If you have a typical plan, the company is paying $579.10 for the employee, and that's your co-pays, deduct percentages, and I think that has a deduct of $3,000. So basically, the plans are pretty comparable in cost. One's $578.85 and one's $579.10. So whichever plan the employee picks, they're still getting the same benefit from the company, essentially. What Blue Cross originally proposed was the $378.85 go up to $527. They renegotiated it down to $489.14. So if the board still elects to do the $200, it would be $689.14 is the increase. You know, the current month plan for any employee on the HSA account. On the regular typical plan, currently the company's paying $579.10. Blue Cross rebid at $787.92. This company, Caddo & Caddo, got them down to $730.93. So you're looking at potentially $689.14 and $730.43 as being the cost per employee per month. And then there's other ones if you have employee spouse, employee children, or employee and family.
But that's just the HSA.
Well, no, the buy-up
The
plan.
buy-up plan
the
is the
typical
regular
plan
PPO plan.
Is the $730.93. That's how much it went to, $730.92.
Okay, when it says employee and spouse, then the employee only has to come up with, I say only, that's not a small matter, but
The difference.
yeah, the
Yes.
$900 on, like 1608 minus 730, right? That's what they have to pay in order to get their
Yes.
spouse?
That is
Yes.
correct.
How much for the
Employee and spouse is, the plan is $1608.05. The company would pay still for the employee $730.
What are we currently paying for each employee right now?
Right,
Right
it's,
there.
it's right there on that column. So, if you're just under the regular buy-up plan,
$579.
it's $579, right there where Marcy
That's
has
what
the
we're paying
mark.
right now?
Yes, sir.
Is, since we are owned by the cities, is there a possibility of getting the city of Floresville, the city of Stockdale, Lavernia, Fall City, and Phelps together as one group to buy insurance?
You work on that, and you let us know.
Actually,
Because the first guy that has to pay a little bit more than they normally wouldn't go for it, is
So-
what you're saying?
So that we'd have to look at on the legality of.
That was what I want to know legally.
Pulling that
creating some
together.
type of co-op. Actually, we talked about that
Yeah.
back in 2006, 2007, doing exactly that same thing.
So we asked TML, because TML's a pool and they have their benefits, to bid and they would not bid on us.
Because,
Our highest claims.
We have high claims. So the other thing that's we're looking at for next year, APPA, American Public Power Association, is looking at having a medical insurance policy across the country, which we would have then a chance of
Buying
looking
it.
at that of an option. They were planning on it, they announced it this past year, and I kind of always thought that there's no way they could have it ready to roll out by, the first of this coming up year, and then they announced, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, that it would not be ready to roll out, so it's not an option for this upcoming year to see what it would look like. But, there again, that would be a bigger pool that might have different rate structures and different aspects there, but it
Talking
might
about like
not.
CPS and us, and Skeen and.
If anyone like that could be in that
Orange
plan.
County.
Yeah, so it's just basically the same thing that you look at with co-ops. They're part of NRECA, and most of those have their medical insurance through NRECA, and they have a big pool. So their rates are not lower than this, though. Their rates are higher than these here in that pool. So,
Did every one of them pay total insurance for their employees though?
yes. So
Carnes County included?
Carnes pays for all their dependents also.
Oh. They're making more money than we are.
Do we have any questions?
So we still have some more slides to
Okay.
show some
Yeah, I
different
think
things
this
here.
one's on a line item by itself though. I don't know.
Oh, was it?
Yes, because I put all the secondary insurances
Okay.
on one agenda item.
Okay.
do we have the percentage of employees that are able to put their spouse on? Or are we mainly just employees insured?
It's
No,
up there.
it's right up here. So you see the numbers on the top left? There's 7 people, 7 employees that
Oh,
are
I didn't know
under
what
that
that was.
plan.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
there's 3 that have their spouse under it, and then 3 that have employed plus children. So then you go over
So out
here
of
to-
65 people, we only have 3 people that have their whole family on it?
So,
What?
so now you have to come over here to this other column and add both of them. Those are 2 different plans, you remember? So this here is the HSA plan over here. So those are the numbers you're looking at here. This is the other plan, so there's your total number. So you have 47 and 12. That's the total people on the medical insurance.
69.
So you have 37 that are over here, and then you have 5 that are also, that just have their spouse over here, and then 4 that have employee and children, and then 1 that has the whole family. And then there again over here, employee only, employee spouse, and then employee and children too. So that's how it breaks down to those numbers there that you're looking at.
So those families, those employees that have children, let me ask, what do they do about insurance? What do you speculate they do for insurance?
Some of them, they're on their spouses.
Mine are on
I
my
mean,
spouses.
I'm gonna guess, kind of point, Marcy probably has
Yeah,
their
all my
kids
kids are on my
on
husband's
husband.
plan. All my kids, my 2.
So yeah, this is for a business, this is a low number. 54132, that's a very low number. You don't see that anywhere else, and it could be because of the cost of it. There's no
Yeah,
contribution.
I would think.
Yeah, because normally it's way higher than that, but that is a low number of participation. So, you know, really, if you looked at it, if that number was higher or more participation, this cost actually could be lower because of the numbers. It depends on how many people would submit claims in that aspect of where they're bringing in money off of their claim, you know, off of their premiums and not having, you know, as much loss. But if you brought on more, that would kick that loss ratio up. It's just a different scenario. But you would think that those numbers would, if we brought more people on, would lower our rate.
So they're basically telling us that they're paying out in claims as much as we're paying in premiums, what they're telling us.
That's correct. Yeah.
So one way to reduce the amount is to reduce the claims. How is that done? I mean, has anyone studied the type of claims or?
It's all protected by HIPAA. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who, what, how often.
They give us a report, we just know that our claims are more than these totals right here. That total plus that total, our claims are more than 500,000.
And that's after they pay a $6,000 deal out of their pocket.
That is correct.
So,
Sorry.
excuse me, we've got some people that need some help.
We need some people I mean, we have people that need some help, but we help them this year, and the cost is gonna go up next year again,
Exactly.
and the year after that, and the year after that. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But there's about 5 candidates talking about it, 5 presidential, more than that. I think all those candidates are talking about health insurance.
What's their,
Well, the Democrats want to give their money away, so we'll all have free insurance and they
okay,
will.
all we know now is that you're a Republican.
Sometimes free is good.
So the issue at hand is.
Yes.
The immigrants too, all have, migrants, everything.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, as a board, where you're looking for approval to accept this particular bid.
Who's our broker on this?
So we had a broker and we did some more research and found another one to do some more bargaining. So we have proposed and we switched to a different one. So the name was
Caddo and Caddo.
Caddo, yeah, it's up there, what's on
Okay.
this. So they agreed to do some heavy hitting for us. The other one was doing a good job, but they probably pulled a little bit more weight and hit some stuff, and they, you know, they're the ones that came out with that other, proposal that went back to Blue Cross, said, hey, here's something they could be doing. and they got us this reduction of what,
10%.
yeah.
I think these numbers are in line with the city is paying. I was at the budget meeting last night, and I think that's pretty much what the city's gonna be paying next year.
Does the city only do employee only also?
I think so.
But our percentage as of last night was going up 9%.
So you were higher though going into, well, this past year paying premiums than what we were. We were lower. Because if those numbers are the same, or close to it, what you're saying, and you only went up 9 and we went up
Yeah.
26
So we
to
were already
catch
high.
it, you were higher last year than what we were. Our insurance was less. So it was, like I said, it was Marcy, Jody, Myra, and then myself. We talked about this, and we figured this was the best plan to present right now for going forward with this year. I would, my thing is like I told the employees when I came here, is that I would like to see what we can do moving forward. But going into this year, this coming in so late and us not having stuff, our recommendation is to, ask you to approve what is being proposed right here by Blue Cross through Caddo and Caddo, that we do that and keep the contribution level the same that you do for the HSA, to, make it up to where it would be a total of what, $689 for what it would basically be per employee under the HSA, which would be what, 7 people, and then the other one would be a plan of $730 for 37, people. So you're looking at,
47.
huh?
The total, it's 12 and 47. Because they get it in every tier. You said 7 and 37, but it's really 12 and 47, because even if they have employee and children, they're still getting their employee contribution.
Oh, employee and spouse is 12, okay, yeah, 12, okay, I see what you're talking about, yeah. So it's 12 and 47.
But the total increase just for health insurance to the company is around $130,000 a year.
So if you look at the bottom, this number
It's not
right
on
here.
here.
Huh?
This is total plan increase. That's not what the
Oh,
company
you
pays.
didn't break it down, yeah.
Yeah, so the total increase is right at 100,000.
100,000.
Yeah. Because when we first calculated, we had it at 150. When we heard it was going up 36%, our quick calculation was 150. So now we're looking at about 100,000 in that range.
Marcy, so the price that we're getting from the brokers, that, you can't separate the HSA from the actual health insurance.
Yes, they're separated.
They're
I mean, the
separate.
HSA is a health insurance, but it's a different type of plan than what you would consider the typical.
Typical
the
health,
benefits
health
are
savings
different.
account, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes, so the renewal price for just the plan is $489.14.
Okay. So for an example, I'll be honest, I'm on the HSA.
Yes, I am too, okay.
So, I have a 6,000 deductible for, my spouse and myself. So, we're looking at a total of 12,000 for a family. But for me, before Blue Cross kicked in and paid something, I had to hit 6,000 out of pocket.
And it's not 12,000 total,
No.
it's 6,000 for you and
6,000
6,000
for
for her.
Rhonda, yes.
So the way we have it set up, you get your health insurance and your HSA, the company will match up to a certain amount of whatever you want to put in.
We have employees that don't put anything, we have
So,
employees that put in something.
Yeah, so on mine, the company does that contribution of what is it, $200 a month?
Toward the
But
employee.
then I also contribute to it to make sure I can kind of, that's a
Yes.
tax dollar that you're looking at. I contribute, try to cover part of that difference between 0 and 6.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with a number that I'm thinking, hey, here's what I'm thinking that it would be. And we're just shooting for that as a pre-tax deduct.
Does it calculate at like $140 per person? Is that what it calculates at?
The,
The raise?
let me see.
30,
I took the difference, divided by 60.
This plan has 59 people on it,
so it's 150 for the one on the right.
That's $1,700.
So what is it called? For the employee
1,700 for
spouse?
the year,
Yes,
150.
and then you divide that by 12,
140.
so, I mean,
Employee and spouse?
107 and spouse on which plan, the base?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,600, or if you're on the HSA plan, about 1,100. But the company would still pay the employee's portion of $489.14 on
Okay,
the
so
employee and spouse. So it'd be about $600, I would say.
the
For
employee
the
and spouse?
For the spouse.
Okay, total, including our contribution is 11, you said?
Yes.
increase of that.
Yeah, currently it's $833.
Yeah.
So it goes up $300?
$200.
Like I said, this is our recommendation, me personally, for us, for who our competitors are that we compete with. If we didn't do this, we can't compete, given linemen and that type of, you know, the technical people that we have to have here. This is just one of those things, it's a cost of doing business in the electrical industry that I feel like we have to do this. And, you know,
Well, yeah.
if we sit there and say the employees have to pay for it for this coming up year, I'll promise you there'll be 5 or 6 of the young linemen that would be looking elsewhere, you know, for jobs, and maybe even more than that, you know, because the utilities around us pay for it. You know, and like I said, that's who we compete against. We personally do not compete against HEB, City of Floresville. We don't have competition right here. Our competition is the utilities around us and the utilities in the southern part of the state. That's our competition.
You know, we may think they're high, but that's what,
I don't know.
we're paying.
A $300 increase, and that what we're looking at, $300 a head, I don't think that's high. I mean, when you look at 26%, you're going with that, that's high, but I mean, golly.
So our plan was, and I'm sorry to interrupt you all on y'all's stuff talking, but our plan is for us to start working on this since we're now with Caddo, and then we will have better planning going into next year. It was just that these things came in late, and then we said, hey, we're gonna go shop this now, because it was just, we couldn't just come in here with one proposal saying it's 36%, so that's why we switched over. And then, like I said, that was what, 2 weeks ago, I guess they were here, and they said, we think we can get it to you before the meeting. I said, we have to have it, and that's when it came in, like I said, 4:30, 4:45 yesterday, we got this. So they got it to us, but the thing is we can't now just tear into it and do what we need to. I mean, I don't think we can get anything lower, no one else is bidding on us anyway, but I don't think you can get anything else different on that, because they did take it, they came back with one proposal, and they said that's not good enough, we're gonna take it back, because they only came back with a 6% decrease, you know, off of the original, and they took it back to them again and said, no, it has to be better than that, and they got it to the 10%, thing. So they got a little bit more of, of that. So maybe when we have more time to bargain next year, we can do a little bit better on that positioning of where it's gonna go in the future.
So what is your recommendation, sir?
Our recommendation is
So we can
acceptable, what we proposed here, of moving it into
Revised?
the revised, and then also move and keep your HSA as your same contribution level.
So we have 3. We have the plan itself, the HSA contribution, and then we have the health reimbursement that we also do. So we do up to $1,500 of the deductible. You meet the first $1,500, the company will meet the additional $1,500. And then anybody on the HSA plan has to pick up, what's the difference between that and the 6,000, but, so there's 3 in one, basically.
Mr. Lowe, did I hear you say that this might affect employee retention?
If we changed it to where we had to make the employees start paying for insurance, the other utilities that we compete against do not make them do that. So yeah, I think people would be shopping because we're gonna be hitting them hard. If you look at it, we're already gonna hit them pretty hard. It's not really us. Insurance is gonna hit them hard for the dependent coverage. You know, if you look at it, they're, whoops. They're
If you look at it, it's blank.
So if you look at the second line, the employee and spouse under the buy-up plan, if you look at it, they're currently at $1,274. You're looking at going up to $1,608. So you're talking $300 a month that right there that they're going to have to increase.
But 200 of that is the employee. Going from
Oh,
$579
so $100
to $730,
of
yeah.
that. Okay. I would have broken that chart out differently.
I make a
Well,
motion
that's
that
enough time.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of paying the new premium.
And Caddo recommendation?
Well, I wanted to say, and with the understanding that we're gonna try to shop it earlier next year and look into the benefits of trying to get entities together. If you can roll all that into one motion.
Is it a one-year contract?
Yes, sir.
How about
I'd
we keep
rather
it, well,
do-
how about we keep it as an understanding that we're gonna
Shop, yeah.
shop
We are-
harder
we are.
and
I think the
earlier.
motion just needs to be about the insurance.
Correct, let's
With
keep the
us
motion.
boys and girls understanding that
And
we're.
we're approving what's presented,
Yeah,
basically. That's kind
that
of-
would be the motion, Marcy,
Okay.
But,
is that we,
Of paying the new, you
Pay the
accept-
new
accept
rate.
the recommendation of paying the new premium amounts.
correct.
And keeping everything else the same as it was.
Keeping the HSA contribution of $200 and the HRA contribution
Keeping
of
all that the
$15.
same as.
Not
it was
change
last
anything
year.
for the employee.
I'll second the
Correct.
motion.
Mr. Hagan makes the motion, Mr. Hedda seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Alright, review and action on life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment, short and long-term disability.
All right, so remember when we talked about it, they came back with some different things, and what we looked at, they said if you move your ancillary products over here to us, we can keep on lowering your total rate of insurance, medical, and everything else. So this here will show you the current company we're with, plus if we went with,
That's a Blue, Dearborn National is a Blue Cross product.
yeah, so the blue is the current company of what they're proposing, and now Caddo and Caddo, when they said, hey, you're gonna get a bigger discount if we do all the ancillary products. So now we're gonna show you the difference if we bring over the ancillary products. And this is, again, when looking at this, is our recommendation also, as Marcy and I looked at this and covered this, our recommendation is for us to move all the ancillary products over here also.
To Dearborn.
Yes, sir, it'd be Blue Cross on that aspect. So Marcy, you wanna cover what this one's covered?
So these plans are virtually the same, however, Blue Cross is a little bit better, and it's a price decrease. If you look at on the right, there's 50% in red. Under the current plan at age 70, you get 40%. At age 75, you get 25%. At age 80, you get 15%.
So this is life insurance.
This is life insurance. And accidental death and dismemberment. Blue Cross has 65% up to age 65 and 50% 70 and over. So it's not 15, 25, 40, it's 50%. So it's a better benefit. And then the accelerated death benefit, it did decrease a little bit, 80% of the benefit amount to 75% of the benefit amount. And then they included travel assist. So I guess if you've got to travel back and forth to different things that it's included. So the rate changed, the current rate is $1847.90 a month for all the employees. It was going to increase to $1920.94. Blue Cross has proposed it drop to $1592.26. So it's a decrease of almost 14%.
I'll make a motion that we take that plan,
Yeah, but
written by Dearborn.
yeah, there's a couple of them that tied it all together.
This is life and accidental death and dismemberment. Now we have short-term and long-term. This is short-term. Same thing, MetLife on the left is current or Dearborn National, which is a Blue Cross product, is on the right. Plan's the same. The only thing is pregnancy limitation. MetLife had it determined on a case-by-case basis. I don't, you know, I guess you'd have to call and ask what that is. Blue Cross spelled it out for, you know, for a pregnancy, 6 weeks if you have a natural birth, 8 weeks if you have a cesarean. So that's the only change, is that they've spelled it out, which I assume is the same as what MetLife would cover, but I don't know that for a fact.
So they can take off from work 6 weeks? Is that what that's saying?
So under the short-term disability, you have to be off for 2 weeks before you get the benefit. And then this will pay 60% of your weekly earnings, up to, I think it's 6 months. And then long-term kicks in. No, 24 weeks. It says it up there, 24 weeks. So yes, if you have any kind of medical event that's gonna cause you to be out longer than 2 weeks, you would, and you don't have vacation or sick that you wanna take, because vacation and sick would be at 100%, then you would get short-term at 60% of your pay, up to 24 weeks. And they facilitate that. The employee sends all their paperwork to this company. We don't get involved at all.
So the other difference here is the Blue Cross is a 2-year guaranteed price compared to a 1 year. So, you know, MetLife could increase going into next year. Blue Cross will not. They're guaranteeing this price for a 2-year period. And there again, if you look at the savings that you're looking at, the renewal on this other one is $1,500, and you're looking at $1,300, what it would be here. So, you know, you're looking at a close to a 14% decrease of us moving all these ancillary products over to Blue Cross. And I think there's one more slide.
There's one more. This is short term, and then there's long term.
Now this one's a little different, so don't be shocked at the bottom. Is that correct? Is this the one that has an increase?
Yeah, it's got a
Yeah.
slight increase, but I think it's still less than the increase
Yeah.
from.
So it has a slight increase on this one, but the overall is still a decrease of what, over 10%. So this one's like 3% higher of what their estimate is. So if you see that 18.92% increase, that's not over what MetLife is, because if you look at it, MetLife is gonna go up 15%.
I can't get it much
So-
better on the screen.
It's an 18% increase over what we're paying now?
Yeah, and
Yes.
then, and then MetLife is also going up 15%. So if
Right.
you look at it, you're only increasing is close to 4% of what we were looking at of these two things. And then you look at the 15% on each one of the other ones, and the 4, we netted it out as we're still saving a lot of money by moving all these ancillary products over. You're gonna cover, let them know if there's any differences on there?
What-
Oh, go ahead, sir.
What's the difference between a class 1 and a class 2? Why do they have two different amounts that they're gonna pay?
It says class 1 at the top is management, class 2 is all other employees. That's what it says for eligible
Okay.
classes.
So,
I guess
but,
it's
but,
because of
but
the
it's
higher
really
earnings.
calculated based on what their pay is?
This
Yes.
is long-term disability, so yes.
Yes, it's based off what your pay is.
Yeah.
It's 80.
So if you have somebody that's making $1,000 a week,
It's just saying the
That's a
maximum
max.
is greater, because your 80% of somebody who earns 75,000 is greater than, than 80% of somebody who earns 35. So they've just adjusted the max a little bit to make it a little bit more comparable to pay, but it's not, I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between the two. It's still 80% of their pay.
right, it's the employee's pay.
Yes,
But they just put a number out there as a top.
as a cap. They're not going to pay more than that per
No
month.
more than 7, no more than 5.
Yes, so if you
So
earn $1 million, you're only gonna get 7,000.
Yeah, the other thing is go ahead and on that bottom one that you have.
You and me.
Not the bottom one, the EAP.
Okay. I'm actually,
Do you know what that is?
but it's a better
You cover
benefit because it says not included
That's
versus
yeah.
included 3 face-to-face
So
visits.
that's an employee assistance, so like
Okay.
if you need counseling or something of that nature or any of that, it wasn't paid for under the old plan, this one here does pay for it. So this one does have a better benefit on that aspect of,
If it's a
employee
workers' comp claim though, this doesn't kick in.
assistance. No. Workers' comp is a standalone, and then.
So do we have off the top of our head, how much short-term is used and how much long-term is used?
We've only had one employee ever qualify for long-term. Intermittently, we've had people on short-term. There's people who have gone on maternity leave who have used short-term.
That, sure.
Once they come back to work, it stops, so 6 or 8 weeks depending. If they go that long, most of them don't.
So are we paying double for our coverage? We're paying workers' comp because you have to pay workers' comp. My question is are we paying for this long-term disability and nobody's ever used it?
So short-term and long is something different than always being a workplace injury. So it could be some other type of injury that they have a disability or something to whether they're
Cancer.
using short and long-term. It's two different things. So if it's work-related, you are under the workers' comp side. Now, if you got hurt in a car wreck on your personal stuff, that's when you get your short-term, long-term.
Or I'm working my cattle and a bull runs over me and I'm in the
That's
hospital.
when this coverage
But
kicks
my
in, that we're
question,
making it for
that's
them.
where my question is if at some time we get pushed up into a corner and goes, well, really, how are we gonna pay for these increases? Is this something that we could look at that the employees aren't using on
You could look at it there again, the people we compete with, that we do business with, that are.
a, you know
all
that
have
they
this.
offer this?
They all have it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other thing is you're gonna notice here is that MetLife was a 1-year plan. This one here has another 2-year guarantee. So if you notice, MetLife went up 15% just this 1 year. So next year, who knows? They might not go up, but it could go up another 15. We're locked in at this rate for a 2-year period. So we felt really comfortable with this, even though it was a 4% increase over MetLife. When you added all three of them together, it was, I forgot what it was, it's still a double-digit decrease over MetLife. That's why we said, hey, this is a good proposal, that we could bring this to you and saying, let's bring all the ancillary products over here to Blue Cross also.
Okay, what is your recommendation?
To accept the, moving all the ancillary products here, the life and disability aspect.
Yeah, life, accidental, death, and dismemberment, short and long-term disability.
Okay,
And moving that over
I
to
so moved.
Blue Cross.
Two Dearborn,
Blue Cross Blue
Yeah.
Shield. It'd be
I
cattle and
second
cattle,
that.
yeah.
Mr. Tejeda makes the motion, Mrs. Castillo seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, if I can hear a motion to go into executive session under 551.086 under competitive matters for the executive purchase power agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Aiken makes the motion, do I hear a second?
I second
Before we do that, can we take a break?
Yes, you did, Mr. Castillo second. And, anybody take a break, go ahead and do it now. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Same sign.
All right.
Pardon
We're now
me.
in Executive session.
I gotta go have an executive session.
that.